I know what you're thinking. At least I think that I know what you're thinking. I titled this video The 100 is the best show on the CW, and that can lead you to either disagreeing with me, agreeing with me, or scratching your head and wondering what the hell this show is. If you are in the first category, that's fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and this is exactly what this video is, my opinion. If you're in the second category, then yeah, let's be best friends. And if the latter applies to you, hear me out and I'll try, without spoiling too much, to tell you why this show is so great and why it is worth your time. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. There's some spoilers, I'll try to keep them to a minimum, so if you want to go in totally blind, bookmark this video and watch it at some later point. The 100 is based on the book series with the same name by Cass Morgan, but the show and books are very different. Thing is, the show deviates from the book so much that they're pretty much two separate entities. The shows and books are separate, but the show itself, at its core, is totally different than anything you'll find on the CW and TV right now in general. Today I'd consider the CW famous for the superhero shows, and I know that I'm generalizing right now, but all these shows have a lot in common, and once they go past their first 2 seasons or so, they struggle with originality, and the shows all follow a pretty cheesy superhero formula. They also take inspiration in varying degrees from their comic book counterparts. So on this network, The 100 stands because thematically, tonally, and story-wise, it's totally different, new, unpredictable, and isn't really based on anything that the viewer can use as a basis of prediction. It's a wallflower among the superhero shows, you can say. And The 100 is also the first show who isn't a superhero show to go past 5 seasons on the network since The Vampire Diaries. So if you're suffering from superhero fatigue and you're looking for something new to try, The 100 might just be the perfect fit. So let's just take a minute to present the premise of the show, okay? The 100 is a sci-fi show set in a post-apocalyptic future where we initially follow young criminals, but they're not really criminals, as they fight to keep their lives, humanity, and sanity in the face of unimaginable horrors. So the official IMDb puts it like this. Set 97 years after nuclear war has destroyed civilization, when a spaceship housing humanity's lone survivors sends 100 juvenile delinquents back to Earth in hopes of possibly repopulating the planet. This description kinda sucks because there's just so much more to it, and trying to summarize it all in a few sentences means neglecting a lot of epicness, but yeah, this is basically what it's about, initially, might I add. It's a sci-fi show where juvenile delinquents are sent to Earth, and then a lot of shit happens, like a lot. Reality can be ugly, and The 100 truly capitalizes on this. The 100 isn't unafraid to go all the way with death scenes and effects, and is an effective way to raise the stakes. Some keywords here are gassing, torture, stabbing, axes through faces, bone marrow extraction, sickness, and so on. In contrast to the more family-friendly shows on the network, there's no Supergirl to save you, or no The Flash to run in with his team to try to save the day. The difference between The 100 and the other shows is quite shocking, and the darkness and grittiness is something that makes the show quite unique. A show doesn't need to be graphic to be good though, but it really helps in this case. While The 100 is a sci-fi show, it benefits from trying to root itself in reality. The creators are unafraid, and I love it. They don't just talk about the ugly struggles of surviving, they actually show you how ugly and bloody it can be. We get the feeling that the protagonists and antagonists actually face horrors because we get to see it, and as a result we actually care about what might happen. The darkness isn't something reserved for practical effects only, but it's also applied to the storylines, character motivation, and themes. On The 100, there's no villain of the week. If you've seen it all, you know that there aren't really any true villains. At its core, The 100 is a show about survival, and the characters are motivated by the need to keep themselves and their people alive. There's not really anyone who does bad things for the sake of doing bad things. Most of them do things because they have to in order to live. In the show, they use the phrase, "there are no good guys." Whether or not you're a good guy can be entirely subjective. The ones you might root for, the heroes, if you put it that way, are the bad guys in other people's eyes, and vice versa. The bad guys, if you put it that way, does things for a reason as well, to keep their loved ones alive, even if it's at the expense of someone else. This also leads to morality being questioned in every episode, and the dilemmas they're faced with can be downright horrifying and impossible. It also leads to the viewer questioning themselves, what would you do if you were in this position? What is right and what's wrong? Can you really know what's right and what's wrong? What makes it all even better is that there are not really any true protagonists or antagonists, and it is possible to understand both sides as they are a fight to stay alive. Everyone has made mistakes and everyone's alive because someone else isn't. It's just how the different parties goes about it that varies, and that's what makes it truly interesting. The show explores the dark and selfish elements of what a human can be, and shows us also how dark and light humanity can be. There are so many characters to love, hate, or love to hate in this series, and on this show you can find some of my all-time favorite fictional characters. Like I mentioned in my previous point, the characters are layered, and in addition there are no stereotypes, and I'm not going to get into individual characters because that's spoiler territory, but seriously, there are so many good ones. There are many things to love about the show, but the characters and the fact that they're not stupid must be one of the best points. Sometimes characters have to do stupid or out-of-character choices or mistakes in order to create drama, but you won't really find any of this on The 100. Instead, the suspense comes out of events that are out of the character's control or as the results of choices that they do that make sense. You don't feel like bashing your head in because someone just did something stupid all of a sudden for no reason. Since The 100 is a sci-fi show, there are a lot of science and futuristic elements, and many of the characters are mechanics, engineers, doctors, and scientists. And some of them are getting quite good with weapons now too. Even those who don't have any of these skills possess other values that make them all resourceful and smart. This leads to problem solving, planning, and scheming, which again leads to awesome plot twists and events. It's 100 times more interesting to watch people try to survive when they do logical things that you might have done yourself, or other things that you never thought of. I feel like this is a point that's probably important to some people when they try to figure out whether or not they like a show. When you're watching The 100, you're watching The 100 and not a show for social justice warriors or anything like that. The other CW shows have a habit of letting their political views shine through quite a bit, but I've never felt like The 100 has ever tried to tell you anything but the story. The 100 has kick-ass and fucking badass female characters. The 100 has kick-ass and fucking badass male characters. The 100 has females who cry and men who cry. The 100 is about actual people. The show is, as I mentioned in this entire video, a show about survival, but it's also about trying to live and find happiness. And this leads to relationships, but they all come organically and you never get the feeling, at least I don't, that the writers are trying to push any form of agenda. The 100 has straight characters and The 100 has a good amount of LGBT characters as well. And The 100 doesn't try to tell you how you're supposed to feel about it. There's no denying though that this show has a high amount of females in power, but no one ever says, wow, a female, you're so strong because you're a girl. Girls should be in power. One of the reasons that I love the show is because they have a lot of strong female characters, some of the strongest in television. But it's also because of the way that it's shown to us, not told. A character is in that position, not because they're necessarily a certain gender, but because of the character they are beyond that. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this video. Leave a like if you liked it, and let me know if you watched this show or plan to do in the comments below, and we'll talk all about it. Until next time, may we meet again.